SpaceX launches third special smallsat ride mission. If Elon Musk and SpaceX haven't impressed us already with the work they've done, then prepare to be blown away yet again, as this man and his company have carried out yet another expedition, this time into the Earth's orbit. The number of satellites that were sent is quite impressive, which is why we shall be focusing on it today. SpaceX successfully launched its second rocket this year on the morning of January the 13th, and we're not even a whole month into the new year. It was a two-stage Falcon 9 rocket that lifted off into the sky from the Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, as it carried a dozen smaller satellites with it. But the returning time in this entire journey was a highlight to be seen. 9 minutes after the rocket leaped off its launch pad, the first stage returned to the Cape. 9 minutes is all it took. The upper stage reached orbit and its payloads were deployed after 525 kilometers of orbiting the Sun. The good news was it landed just a few miles away from where it was launched, so the people behind this satellite had their calculations correct. The launch broadcast replayed the message, "Stage 1 landing is confirmed," adding, "As you heard, the Falcon 9 has landed for the 10th time." SpaceX Reliability Engineering Manager Kate Tice said in the broadcast. This landing marked SpaceX's 102nd overall recovery, and they couldn't be any happier with the result. The reason a recovery was so much significant for space shuttles is that once they leave the atmosphere, it's difficult to predict whether they will return or not. SpaceX's team got this landing spot on. Transporter 3. The mission that was named Transporter 3 was SpaceX's third dedicated ride mission, where it aimed at dispersing 105 small satellites into a polar orbit. This orbit sees satellites circle Earth above its poles in a series of deployments that began 1 hour into the launch. The orbit is sought after by many observation companies on Earth, as it allows the orbiting satellites to carry out the Earth scan of the whole planet on a routine basis. Daily basis to be accurate. Another reason why this launch holds such high importance is because it marks the second mission of this year. For SpaceX, as stated earlier from the Florida Space Coast, this isn't the only launch for this month for all you SpaceX fans out there. That's right, it's time to fasten your seatbelts because several more launches are yet to come in February 2022. This mission marked a first stage booster's 10th successful flight landing with a B1058 designation, which entered functionality in May 2020. During that time, 2 NASA astronauts were launched into the International Space Station as part of the Demo 2 Crew Dragon mission. After this May 2020 mission, 5 different groups of Starlink's internet satellite were launched into orbit to help each other take a step in the direction which Elon Musk is hoping for, where he is on the road to creating an entirely new branch of the internet. This booster also carried the Transporter 1 mission in January 2021. So the SpaceX roster is experienced as well as the elite. Companies involved and SpaceX's role. The Transporter 3 rideshare mission was carried out by companies like Spaceflight Inc. and ExoLaunch to help small satellite customers cop up their ride to space. These companies are in for this venture because they book it immediately whenever companies look for an opportunity like this where a satellite heads into space. These missions are ideal for payloads that do not need to go to a specific point in space, but instead, even a more generalized visit to the place would be good enough. The Transporter mission is considered incredibly unique because it supports space development and prevents people from waiting for their trip. People book the flight when they're ready, and they're ready to head off to space. It is that easy. As for SpaceX on its website, it has said that it charges customers a little as $1 million to launch a payload of 200 kilograms in the Sun synchronous orbit. This price comes about, which is a surprisingly suitable price because it enables cost reductions as rocket hardware from the Falcon 9 is used. This is why the recovery of materials is so important to these companies carrying out space expeditions. Payload details. As for payloads on the Transporter 3, range from the sizes of a soda can to that of a washing machine. The biggest of these was the Ukrainian Sich 2-1 satellite built by Uzonoe, which weighed 170 kilograms and is a spacecraft funded by the government. The deployment of the spacecraft was delayed for years, mainly due to political and economic turmoil in Ukraine, which was driven primarily due to the country's conflict with Russia. This satellite hosts a medium-resolution imaging payload that can take pictures of the Earth's surface in visible and near IR wavelengths. Helping space firms collect essential data they can relay for use in urban planning and environmental monitoring. Radar remote sensing satellites were also a part of the Transporter-3 payload. 2 satellites for Finland's microsatellite manufacturing firm ICEYE and the United States-based Capella were also sent to the Falcon 9's rocket payload. These companies are building satellites that will use radar beams to map the world's land masses, oceans, ice sheets, and other water bodies. Although radar imaging doesn't provide much color or detail compared to optical remote sensing, radar satellites come with a benefit of showing sensitivity in the day or night, along with all kinds of weather conditions. Images from ICEYE and Capella, respectively, are sharp enough for analysts to pick out ships, buildings, and other features that are smaller than a meter in size on the face of the Earth. The above examples of payloads help us see a recurring pattern where companies put technologies to use to understand the Earth's environment better, both on land and sea. Sending satellites to space to give detailed imagery on the Earth sounds pretty dumb when you say it out loud. But there's a reason these companies are spending millions of dollars in creating such satellites and then sending them to space. The Transporter-3 mission also managed to haul 44 small SuperDove optical imaging satellites into the orbit for Planet that owns the largest fleet of Earth's observation spacecraft industry. This company said before launch that it would have more than 240 satellites in orbit, having a new flock of SuperDoves, which took off in the same week as the mission. This Transporter-3 mission was the first for Planet and SpaceX under the latest multi-launch agreement, signed last year. It cemented SpaceX's position as the go-to launch provider for Planet till the end of 2025. Since we are on the topic of payload, there wasn't always the addition of payload on the Transporter-3. Some of the satellites were pulled off of it as well, such as the Sherpa space tug, which was supplied by the rideshare launch broker spaceflight. It was removed from the spaceflight because it suffered a propellant leak during the pre-flight processing at Cape Canaveral in December 2021. After removal from the payload stack of the Transporter-3, it was said that it would be deployed and will be reassigned to other missions as per spaceflight. That is, however, yet to be seen. The journey of the Transporter-3 was a highly successful one, and one that SpaceX can take a lot of pride in. The best part is that they can move with the same motivation in the remaining space trips planned for the month and the ones lined up for the rest of this year. SpaceX will be a fantastic ride in 2022 if they keep on moving with the same morale. If they do, they can expect many more space shuttle recoveries to be made this year. And that's all from us this time, guys. Make sure you check out any of the other videos on the channel, give this one a like, and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.